This evening, council is pleased and appreciative to have Elder Larry Price, who's Associate Elder at Tri-Stone Baptist Church, to pray with us. Elder Price, welcome back to the council.
Thank you, Councilman President. It's an honor to be here. I see so many friends. I feel like homecoming to me.
It is.
Except for my son, in whom I'm well pleased, Nicholas. Let us pray. We invoke your spirit upon this meeting, O Lord. We pray for our city council president, that you will shadow him with your spirit of wisdom and knowledge to lead this city. We pray for each and every city council member. We thank you that they reflect the diversity of this city. Let them be as one, as you and the Father are one. Then, Lord, we pray for the city of Columbus. Let this meeting be about the us in Columbus, those of us who seek a community where our children and our seniors can feel safe, those of us who seek a community where everyone can have a livable wage and where diversity and inclusion are not just buzzwords, but words that have meaning. Then, Lord, let them continue to work to make sure that Columbus is the best place to live, work, and raise a family. This we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor Remy, President Harden.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing no additions or corrections, the journal is approved. This week's communications received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Before we do resolutions and announcements from my colleagues, I wanted to take a moment to, welcome everyone back to City Hall. Our teams at City Hall, led by Mayor Ginther, bringing back full staff, and on the council side, our staff, we are back in the building as part of a larger effort to reconstitute, re-engage, support our small businesses, and bring the vitality back to downtown. And we joined together with a resounding "We are back" this morning. And in doing so, we are also bringing back a component of our council meetings that we have not had for the last 2 years, which is the directors, the mayor's administration being physically represented. It is good to see each and every one of the directors. We even have new directors that have never participated, and new city leaders who have never participated in a city council meeting. I promise you, to the folks who have been here, it's just like riding a bike. You just jump back on. But welcome back. I do think it would be appropriate if we kind of went around the horn. We have a lot of listening audience who may not know exactly who and which departments are represented in the mayor's administration, who will typically come before council. And so we'll start with Director Clark, and we'll just go along. If you just introduce yourself, and we'll get back to it.
Hello, Council President. Robert Clark, Director of Public Safety.
Welcome.
Bonita Reese, Director of Recreation and Parks.
Good evening, Michael Stevens, Director of Development.
Good evening, Matt Smito, Mayor's Office of Education.
Good evening, Inspector General with the Division of Police.
Good evening, Maureen Stapleton, Celebrate One.
Good evening, Jennifer Shea, here on behalf of Director DeLong for the Civil Service Commission.
Hello, everyone. Michael Bowen, Deputy Director of the Department of Building and Zoning Services.
Good evening, everyone. Steve Wenzel, Assistant Director of Department of Public Service, representing Director Gallagher tonight.
Good evening, Council President Harden and members of Council. Carla Williams Scott, Director of Department of Neighborhoods. Good to see you all.
Good evening, Deputy Director Rick Wagner, here on behalf of Director Orr through the Department of Technology. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Joe Lombardi, Director of Finance Management.
Good evening, Nicole Brandon, Human Resources Director.
Good to see you.
Good evening, Tiffany Kraus, Assistant Health Commissioner, representing Dr. Roberts, the Health Commissioner for Columbus Public Health.
Good evening, Ann Aubrey, Interim Director at Department of Public Utilities.
Good evening, Demita Brown, Director of Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
Well, welcome back to the administration. We are so excited and so happy just to see each other in person. Sorry to the media, they took your spot so that we could be a little bit more physically spread out, but we look forward to engaging and having everybody. With that, we'll go around the horn. Councilmember Bankston. Councilmember Rosa de Padilla. President Pro Tem.
Thank you so much, Council President. I just have one quick announcement. As the Chair of the Education Committee, I'd like to acknowledge that April 2nd through 8th is the Week of the Young Child, an annual celebration sponsored by the National Association for the Education of Young Children, which we were just recently made aware of and I didn't know was a thing, but we are happy to acknowledge due to Patricia Ducksworth and Brightside Academy for bringing this to our attention. It gives us one more opportunity to talk about the theme of this week, which is to focus the public's attention on the needs of young children and their families. As a city, we continue to strive for better access to affordable, quality early learning because it is a matter of basic infrastructure. Having a safe place for children to learn and develop gives parents the flexibility they need to work and support their families. And it invests in our future by preparing our kids for success in school beyond. By the age of 5, 90% of a child's brain has developed, making that progression from birth to kindergarten the most significant brain development period in their lives. It lays the foundation and the infrastructure for all future learning. And we know that access to quality learning opportunities during this time improves literacy, language, and math skills by the time a child makes it to kindergarten. Those who reach kindergarten academically ready are more likely to succeed in later schooling, which helps set them up to become the workers our economy needs, but ultimately for they themselves to live healthier, more prosperous lives. And in a recent development to support our youngest residents and their families, the city has announced a series of investments, starting with CARES Act funding to support our providers, over $6 million directly to providers. Then this year, American Rescue Plan funding, $2.5 million for affordability scholarships, an additional $1 million to expand summer school, essentially just ongoing preschool until the start of kindergarten with our Early Start Columbus program. On top of that, County Commission President Erica Crawley just announced an additional $11 million to help 500 new families afford pre-K. The city and county also have allocated $500,000 for child care worker signing bonuses as child care centers are suffering from significant workforce attrition. I want to thank County Commission President Erica Crawley for her partnership and funding support of this early child care system in Franklin County. And I want to pause to recognize that with all of this funding that we've put into the system, we are still not doing enough. There are 70,000 households in our county with children under 5. The work we do year in and year out, led by Matt Smido in our education office, championed by Mayor Ginther to fund pre-K slots for about 1,000 4-year-olds, has helped them measurably, by the data, be ready for kindergarten. But there are 70,000 households in our county with kids under 5. I want to thank the participants in Early Start Columbus for what they do to serve our kids. And I want to thank Director Smido, again, Board President Commissioner Erica Crawley, and Mayor Ginther and this council for supporting what is the beginning of greater investment into early childhood. Thank you for allowing my long announcement, President Harden.
Very important announcement. Thank you, President Pro Tem. Councilmember Dorrance. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Council President Harden, and good evening. Before I begin, I'd like to just take a moment to wish all of our Columbus residents observing the holy month of Ramadan a successful Ramadan. During this month, Muslims act as Muslims use as an act of worship, an opportunity to get closer to God. And it is a way to become more compassionate to those in need. So Ramadan Mubarak to all who are celebrating. April is both Minority Health Month, and today marks the start of National Public Health Week. And the theme is Public Health is Where You Are. Since 1995, the American Public Health Association has used this week to educate the community, policymakers, and public health professionals about issues important to improving our collective health. Public health professionals help communities prevent, prepare for, withstand, and recover from the impact of a full range of health threats, including disease outbreaks such as COVID-19 pandemic, measles, natural disasters, and disasters caused by human activity. Today marks the start of the important Health Week. I want to encourage all of our residents to observe this week by helping their families, friends, and neighbors better understand the importance of public health and challenging them to adopt preventative lifestyle habits. There are numerous events taking place throughout the month that I encourage all of our residents to attend. For the complete list, please visit www.columbus.gov/public health/programs minority health/minority health month/April. That's a lot. Just go to the website. While on the topic of public health, I did want to share an update on the COVID-19 pandemic. Columbus Public Health and our experts continue to monitor the COVID-19 status and anticipate an increase in COVID cases in the coming weeks due to spring break activities and the new BA.2 variant. However, there is no need to panic. The CDC recommendation remains the same, and Franklin County's level has not changed. We do ask residents to remain vigilant and our immunocompromised friends and families to stay masked and at home if necessary. As of today, 56% of Columbus-Franklin County residents have been vaccinated. We continue to encourage eligible residents to get vaccinated as it is our best tool to reduce the spread of the vaccine. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to invite Office of Minority Health Program Director Ryan Johnson to the podium in order to recognize Ordinance 0059X-2022 to recognize April 2022 as Minority Health Month in the City of Columbus and to encourage a year-round commitment to reducing healthcare inequities while promoting systemic efforts that work to improve the social determinants of health for all of us. Physical activity is one of the best things people can do to improve their health, yet too few Americans get the recommended amount of physical activity. Only 1 in 4 adults and 1 in 5 high school students fully meet physical activity guidelines for aerobic and muscle strengthening activities. These numbers are even lower among adults in some racial and ethnic minority populations. Thanks to the year-round outreach conducted by Columbus Public Health's Office of Minority Health, we've been able to inform, educate, and empower more Columbus residents to make better choices about their health. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Program Director Johnson.
Hey, thank you so much. On behalf of my colleagues and Dr. Mashika W. Roberts, Health Commissioner, and Tiffany Krause, Assistant Health Commissioner in the back, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for the resolution of expression celebrating Minority Health Month. My name is Ryan E. Johnson, and I'm the Interim Section Chief for Community Engagement and Participatory Planning within the Center of Public Health Innovation at Columbus Public Health. So say that about 5 times really fast. Dr. Roberts created the center in response to the mayor's declaration that racism is a public health crisis. And so our mission is to increase life expectancy, improve quality of life by reducing these inequities with a focus on racism in all its forms as a major cause of those inequities. And so this is achieved through our 4 core competencies: to monitor and report the health status of minority populations, to inform, educate, and empower people, to mobilize community partnerships, and to develop policies and plans to support those health efforts. As been stated, April is Minority Health Month, and so we encompass a 30-day campaign of many activities designed to solicit the interest and participation of minorities or providers of health services to minority populations. And so in planning for Minority Health Month initiatives, Columbus Public Health has worked with stakeholders who serve on our Minority Health Advisory Committee. There are nearly 50 local stakeholders that meet, and we talk about current health initiatives, we discuss health-related issues, and we provide feedback on the integration of services for minority populations. So during Minority Health Month, we'll have billboards that'll be strategically placed in 6 areas of Columbus that provide information specific to Minority Health Month. We do strategic planning with community partners to coordinate activities and initiatives, not just in April, but obviously all year round. And we do things such as cultural humility trainings, consulate events, panel discussions, health and wellness opportunities, screening opportunities, youth expo, and we even have a virtual prayer. So for a complete calendar of Minority Health Month activities, I won't say the long title, but just www.columbus.gov/publichealth, or you can contact me directly. Again, Ryan E. Johnson. My number is 645-7335, or my email is rejohnson@columbus.gov. So with that, thank you so very much for allowing me to say a few words on the wonderful work of the Center for Public Health Innovation at Columbus Public Health.
Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments for Mr. Johnson? Well, we truly do appreciate the work of all of our great partners over at Columbus Public Health as we continue to lean into these areas that disproportionately affect people of color and other minorities in the city of Columbus. Thank you for the work that you do. With that, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you so much. And I have some goodies for you. How about that? You're welcome.
That is all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. I have one resolution and one related announcement this evening. Before I begin reading, I would like to invite Ari Alex, David Celebrezzi, Shelley Douglas, Mariel Banky to the podium as I introduce Ordinance 51X 2022. To recognize and celebrate Friday, April 22nd, 2022 as Earth Day in Columbus, Ohio. Celebrating Earth Day represents all of the hard work that has been done and will continue to be done to protect our planet and keep our families safe. Earth Day was founded by United States Senator Gaylord Nelson as an environmental teach-in first held on April 22nd, 1970. Earth Day 2022 is dedicated to preserving and protecting our health, families, and livelihoods by investing in our planet. Green Columbus is a Central Ohio nonprofit organization that started the local celebration of Earth Day in 2007 and organizes the Earth Day Columbus Service Week every year. Since its inception, Earth Day Columbus has helped Central Ohioans volunteer hundreds of thousands of hours and resulted in millions of dollars worth of goods and services being donated in Central Ohio. Keep Columbus Beautiful, a national affiliate of Keep America Beautiful, is a community improvement program started in 1984 that focuses on public education and volunteer service related to quality of life environmental issues, including litter, recycling, and beautification. In 2021, Keep Columbus Beautiful facilitated 11,409 volunteers, 742 cleanups, and the removal of 252,268 pounds of litter. Founded in 2008 by former Columbus Mayor Michael B. Coleman, Columbus Green Spot is a city program that inspires, educates, and recognizes households, businesses, community groups, and neighborhoods that adopt sustainable practices. Columbus Green Spot currently has 23,258 members throughout the city. Columbus City Council encourages all residents to volunteer for Earth Day 2022 and thank the many people and organizations in our community who will spend the month of April dedicating time to clean their neighborhoods and help our environment. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council does hereby recognize and celebrate Friday, April 22nd, 2022 as Earth Day in Columbus, Ohio. Earth Day is an exciting time of the year. So as chair of the Environment Committee, and I kind of, we look at it as more like Earth Month, right? It's not just one day, although that's where it started. We really look to April as the month to focus on our environmental sustainability efforts. I know all too well, the type of preparation and planning that Green Columbus, Keep Columbus Beautiful, and so many other agencies put into having Columbus residents together to educate and engage them in environmental activities. It's a good feeling to be in a city where we treat Earth Day as Earth Month. There are so many different activities going on around the city in honor of Earth Day, and I honestly couldn't be happier, and it's great to see your representation of the organizations that help put this day together and make it all happen. I'd like to turn the floor over to our special guest, so we'll first start out with Ari Alex of Keep Columbus Beautiful. The floor is yours, Ari.
Thank you, President Hardin, Environment Chair Remy, members of council. Keep Columbus Beautiful, as Councilman Remy said, is our city improvement program that does beautification and litter enforcement. We are now under a new strategic plan that focuses, ties directly to the city's climate action plan with a goal of reducing and moving towards a 40% waste reduction by 2030. That's removing the waste from our landfill, which helps us reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and beautifies our city. As some know, we have a litter index where we go through every single street and alley in the city and index how much litter is out there annually. Based off of that, over the next 5 years, we're looking at a 25% reduction of litter through volunteer and staff efforts through the Division of Refuse. We're working to beautify the city with tree plantings and public art, and we want to build the most sustainable Keep America Beautiful affiliate in the country. We're the best city in the country. We're going to have the best Keep America Beautiful affiliate in the country. Over the last 10 years, volunteers have picked up 3.3 million pounds of litter, and that is volunteer effort. That equates to about $5.8 million of community improvement funds, which is a substantial amount of resources. Last month, we brought back Kick Butt Columbus. As many people may know, cigarette butts are the most littered piece of trash that's out there. Cigarette butts do not break down. They have plastic in them. They end up in our waterways. They go from our sewers to the Scioto River, to the Ohio River, to the Gulf of Mexico, and they end up in our oceans. At Kick Butt, we collected just over 14,000 pounds of litter. That was several council members were there. I want to thank you for coming out there. And with Earth Month, partnering with Green Spot and Green Columbus, we are doing some amazing cleanups every single day. We have hundreds of volunteers that are coming out, and it's great to partner with them. For anyone interested in volunteering over the month of April, going to earthdaycolumbus.org, you can sign up for tree plantings, cleanup opportunities, and some other wonderful activities. And there's going to be a special event at the end of the month, which Councilmember Remy will, I'm sure, be talking about here in a moment, and we really appreciate it. And thank you so much for recognizing Earth Month.
Well, we certainly appreciate it. I know a couple of us were at 11th and 71 cleaning up, and it's starting to look a little like we weren't there. But for 3 weeks or so, it looked pretty good, and I was pretty excited about that. So might need to do this on a regular basis, right? Thank you very much, Ari. We really appreciate your partnership at Keep Columbus Beautiful and all that you do for the city. David Celebrezzi, Green Spot Columbus, welcome, Dave.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Remy. Thank you, Council, for giving me this opportunity to talk a little bit about Green Spot. Columbus Green Spot, we are housed at the Department of Public Utilities in the Sustainable Columbus office. We have, as Councilmember Remy said, we have over 23,000 members. I actually didn't write down the exact number, so I'm glad that you had it with you for that. And we really are the city's main arm to reach out to the community on what the community can do to live and operate more sustainably. So, for instance, we have a rebate program for rain barrels. So residents can get up to a $50 rebate on a rain barrel or native tree, up to $25 off on native plants. If that's not your thing, we offer tours for our members. So we team up with SWACO, take the tour of the landfill, team up with Rumpke, take the tour of the recycling facility, or we go out to high quality wetlands and see the salamanders, the fairy shrimp, and all the other cool critters. And we tie that back around of how that benefits our community and how that is an important part of the water cycle. Members get a letter from Mayor Ginther and a Green Spot decal welcoming them to the program. They get an electronic dashboard where they could track what they're doing to be green. They could actually enter in some data along with that. And for our business members, they get eligible for the highly coveted Green Spotlight Awards, which we had a couple weeks ago. They also have the opportunity to go through our sustainable business class. And if any business out there or organization is interested in that, we would love to have them to go through that course. So what are some of the actions that individuals can take to make a big difference? One is turn off water when you brush your teeth. This could save you about 365 gallons a year or more. Also, if you have kids, you know they just leave that water going and going, so you really save a lot of money and save a lot of water. Keep showers to 5 minutes or less. So your standard shower head uses 2.5 gallons per minute. If you're like me and you have big hair and maybe you can't keep it to 5 minutes or less, then you get a WaterSense labeled shower head, which uses only 2 gallons per minute or less. Install a rain barrel, use a reusable water bottle. I saw some Green Spot reusable water bottles out here in the audience. Go vegetarian or vegan. Some things to conserve energy is unplug those vampire appliances. So that's like your cell phone chargers, your microwaves, your blenders, your computers, things like that, that even when they're turned off, they're still sucking energy. So by doing that alone, you can save about 11% off of your energy bill throughout the year. Also, turn off the lights when you leave the room, unless there's somebody in your room, unless it's your little brother or your little sister, then you could probably turn the lights off anyway. In order to reduce, reuse, recycle, carry a reusable bag. You can also pay your bills online or over the phone. That's a great way to save a stamp and the transportation costs that are associated with that. You get the idea. We actually have over 40 different ideas, and as much as I would love to tell you about every single one of them, I think you don't have the time for that tonight. You have a lot of things on the agenda. But you can check it out on columbusgreenspot.org. I will say, in addition, if you catch us out at an event tabling, we do hand out the reusable water bottles, reusable straws, toilet dye to check to see if your toilet is leaking water. We have pencils made from recycled newspapers. We also have the famous Green Spot and the Dots kids books, which is the big hit. We have a Green Spot Advisory Board, which is made up of 30 folks representing business, government, nonprofits, academia, and residents. Finally, but not lastly, we work in all areas of the city, and we greatly value partnerships. As I already mentioned earlier, it's really when we collaborate, that's when we really move the ball forward on sustainability, on economy, and on people, and that's what we need to do. So this is critical for us as a community to meet the goal of carbon neutrality by 2050. Green Spot does have a spot in the Climate Action Plan where we're working to empower a community of climate leaders. So with that, I appreciate you all recognizing April 22nd. April is Earth Month. As well, I kind of say, if you breathe or you drink water, then you're an environmentalist. So let's keep going.
Well, thank you so much, Dave. We appreciate all the efforts that you put in for Green Spot. I remember when the goal was 20,000 Green Spot organizations. Very happy to see it's at 23,000, but now we got to get up to 30. So please go to that website. Many helpful hints and sustainability things that you could be doing at home. Also, ask businesses to sign up. That we just honored our businesses here last week for their efforts and being involved. And so it's a great program. Appreciate all that you do in order to keep us on track.
Thank you.
Take care. Now we'll ask Shelley Douglas and Mariel Banky of Green Columbus. Last but not least, but we're excited to hear more.
Yes, hello, good evening. I hope it's okay that I showed up in a t-shirt today, but I wanted to wear our Earth Day Columbus shirts for this year. I'm Shelley, I'm our Earth Day Director, and
my name is Mariel Banky. I'm the President of the Board of Green Columbus.
Yeah, and we feel very honored to be here to talk to you about Earth Day Columbus. We are celebrating the 15th year of our organization working on this effort. And at Green Columbus, we are extremely grateful for the support from this council, the City of Columbus, the Columbus Foundation Green Funds, the Jeffrey Funds, as well as many other local and national organizations such as Arbor Day Foundation and the National Wildlife Federation. And our goal is to make it as easy and accessible as possible for everyone to participate in Earth Day, no matter their background or the resources available to them. That is why we like to give away as much as we possibly can every year for Earth Day. And this year, we are planting and distributing a record 30,000 trees around Central Ohio, and we have also handed out over 3,000 pollinator plants, and are planning to provide over 2,000 bags of mulch and topsoil to worksite organizers at no cost. And that will help communities grow food for their families and really bring the environment back as well as the health of the communities. And we're happy to report that we planted 3,000 native trees at our 2 tree nurseries. One is in Linden and one is in the Hilltop. And we greatly appreciate the council's support in helping us get those efforts going this year and each year before. And if you would like to schedule a visit to come out and see the trees and see how we're able to provide these free trees to the community every year, we would love to have you. And Earth Day Columbus is truly a community effort. We are lucky to be a part of this community where thousands of people in Central Ohio are making this actually the largest volunteer-driven service event for Earth Day in the nation. So thank you, and I'll let Mariel say a few words here.
All right, to finish up, thank you to everyone who's involved in Earth Day Columbus, from Keep Columbus Beautiful and our partners there, Councilmember Remy and Lucy and Jeff in your office, Councilmember Elizabeth Brown, and all of the other council members and staff who have supported our organization over the past 15 years. If you're interested in participating, we have many opportunities in the coming weeks. This weekend, we are focusing on tree planting, but there are dozens of cleanups happening throughout the city, both this weekend and in the coming days and weeks, as we celebrate all of Earth Month with service opportunities. We encourage you to visit that same website, earthdaycolumbus.org, and click on the volunteer button to find those opportunities. And to sum up, as we celebrate Earth Day on Saturday, April 23rd from noon to 7 p.m. at Genoa Park, so the day after, Friday the 22nd, we would love to welcome any available council members for an opportunity to open the festival, greet our guests and community, and celebrate with us. Obviously, we have a lot to celebrate and many accomplishments from both Green Columbus and the other organizations that we partner with. On behalf of the staff and board and volunteers of Green Columbus and throughout the city, I'd like to extend our deepest gratitude for your support and for recognizing Earth Day in Columbus in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was important to bring all three of you here today to talk about the programs that you do and how important it is for people to understand the various ways that they can get involved in volunteerism, because it takes all of us to make our community a better place. So I do want to appreciate the fact that you came down today to share that. There's so many great ways and avenues to take advantage of volunteerism, especially as it relates to sustainability, that your website is really the focus of Earth Day. What is it, earthdaycolumbus.org? Yeah, thank you. And so we're just appreciative to have you as partners, and so we look forward to it. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
So my next announcement is very much related. It's the culmination of everything that we do during Earth Month, and that is our Cleaner Columbus Community Cleanup. In 2019, I launched the Cleaner Columbus Initiative, which is an initiative geared towards creating a cleaner Columbus through education, community engagement, job creation, enforcement, and volunteer community cleanups. We do this in partnership with Keep Columbus Beautiful, and we're so appreciative for their partnership in this. But I am proud to announce the inaugural Cleaner Columbus Community Cleanup taking place on Saturday, April 30th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The kickoff will take place at Wolf Park, located at 105 Park Drive, Columbus, Ohio, 43209. That's near East Broad and Nelson. But to attend this event and help us create a cleaner Columbus, we ask you register at www.cleanercolumbus.org. That's cleanercolumbus.org. If you have any questions, please email my legislative aide, Jeffrey Carter, at jdcarter@columbus.gov. That's jdcarter@columbus.gov. I also want to remind everyone, since this is my last meeting of the month, to have a happy, safe, and responsible spring break. As public safety chair, it's the last meeting because we don't have two, and I'm going on spring break. So anyway, thank you, and that is all I have this evening.
I was confused too, Councilmember. I thought we were taking a month off. Thank you, council members. Are there any comments by elected officials, city attorney's office, the auditor, or the judges? Seeing none, are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an item on the resolution or consent portion of the agenda? May we now have a motion to waive reading of titles of third-day legislation? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record ordinance numbers on 30-day legislation tonight's agenda?
Economic Development Committee, Ordinance 926-2022. Technology Committee, Ordinances 773, 774, 843, 880-2022. Public Service and Transportation Committee, Ordinances 916, 921, 922-2022. Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 810 and 885-2022. Health and Human Services Committee, Ordinance 849-2022. And Public Safety Committee, Ordinance 823-2022.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We don't have any speakers on the consent portion of the agenda. The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those ordinances into the record?
Resolutions of Expression 58X, 56X, 57X-2022, Economic Development Committee, Ordinance 927-2022, Technology Committee, Ordinance 911-2022, Public Service and Transportation Committee, Resolution 43X-2022, Ordinances 787, 827, and 850-2022, Finance Committee, Ordinances 757, 818, 835, 912, 936-2022, Recreation and Parks Committee, Ordinances 385, 386, 388, 839-2022, Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 793, 803, and 904-2022, Workforce Development Committee, Ordinance 832-2022, Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, Ordinance 574-2022, Health and Human Services, Ordinances 631, 742, 770, 771, 776, 830, 896, 897-2022. Public Safety Committee, Ordinance 837 and 895-2022. And one appointment from the Mayor's Office numbered A0091-2022.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any questions or comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to waive our motion of approval for these items by voice? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bangston,
Yes, with the exception of ordinance 0631-2022, from which I'm abstaining.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla,
Yes.
Ms. Brown.
Yes, with the exception of 757, 2022, on which I'm abstaining.
Mr. Dorans.
Yes.
Ms. Favor.
Yes, with the exception of ordinance 787-2022, for which I'm abstaining.
Mr. Remy.
Yes.
President Harden.
Yes, ordinance are passed with the noted exceptions. We'll now move to second reading and 30-day. The first committee to come before council is Economic Development, chaired by Councilmember Bangston. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Tonight in the Economic Development Committee for second reading, we have ordinance 0826-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a downtown office incentive agreement with Orvion Global US LLC for a term up to 5 consecutive years in consideration of the company's proposed capital investment of $1 million and creation of 150 net new full-time permanent positions with an established payroll of approximately $15,020,000 as provided in Columbus City Resolution Number 0088X-2007, adopted June 4th, 2007. Council colleagues, I'm really excited about this particular ordinance and this particular company. Orvion Global US LLC is a wholesaler and distributor of skincare products and cosmetics that was created in 2021. They are looking to renovate and occupy a vacant space consisting of approximately 22,000 square feet at 343 North Front Street in the Arena District. This project is expected to create 150 new full-time permanent positions in the city and establish an annual payroll of approximately $15,020,000. This is a company that is expanding their operations out of New York City and has chosen Columbus as their second home. We've seen the impact that COVID-19 has had on our downtown culture, and as a city, we must do what we can to bring back activity downtown. So it is fitting that we are considering this ordinance today as we are celebrating the return to downtown today and throughout the week. So in attendance with us virtually to speak a little bit more about this company and why they're moving to Columbus, we have William Bundy, the Chief Transformation Officer of Orvion, to speak more to this project. Mr. Bundy, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, sir. The
Chairman.
floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Chairman Banks, and thank you for having us here today. I'd also like to thank Anthony Slappy and Joe Ryan from the Department of Development who helped us work through all of the details, working with the City of Columbus in order to, get this great opportunity with you and the people of Columbus. We at Orvion are thrilled to be partnering with the city to expand our footprint by bringing our next U.S. office here. A location right downtown in the Arena District offers a great opportunity to build as part of the larger community. We are excited for that opportunity, and we're really excited to attend some Blue Jackets games as well. Orvion is a newly formed corporation housing 3 iconic beauty brands, Bare Minerals, Laura Mercier, and Buxom, and we look forward to joining the forces of other global brands planting their roots in Columbus and capitalizing on the great human capital that you have there in the city. Orvion is about its employees, and as a company that believes beauty is more than skin deep, we aim to challenge conventional wisdom to create positive change and reinforce our commitment to stark honesty, co-creation, and making a sustainable cultural impact today and for years to come. As we grow, we are looking to attract top talent across a range of skill sets and backgrounds that also share our passion for sustainability and aspirational change. And our national search showcased to us that the team can be found right there in Columbus. The office will bring about 150 positions immediately in financial planning and analysis, legal, supply chain, digital, and visual asset management, human resources, marketing, and more. We thank the city for all the support as we conducted our search and the benefits that helped make this possible and make Columbus an attractive location for companies looking to grow. And we look forward to growing the community with you in a partnership.
Thank you, Mr. Bundy, and we look forward to having you in Columbus and having you in our downtown and in offices. Is really exciting. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. May I move to Small and Minority Business Committee?
Please.
Thank you. Tonight in the Small and Minority Business Committee, for second reading, we have Ordinance 0836-2022. I'm going to invite Ms. Lolo and Shelby from the U if they would come up to the podium as I read the ordinance. Ordinance 0836-2022 is to authorize the city clerk to enter into a grant agreement with the Urban Business Development Center, doing business as Urban Investment Group, in support of the organization's Urban Launch School Small Business Accelerator Program, and to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within the Jobs Growth Subfund of $20,000. The Urban Business Development Center, commonly referred to and lovingly referred to as the U, is an entrepreneur support organization dedicated to bringing culturally competent support and resources to the Black and Brown small business community. As chair of Small and Minority Business Committee, one of my goals is to promote the success of small businesses at every stage of their life cycle. Every small business begins with an idea. So supporting entrepreneurs, especially our entrepreneurs of color, as they embark on turning their small business into a reality, is key to strengthening and diversifying the small business ecosystem of our city. This $20,000 in funding provided by this ordinance will be used to provide participants with micro grants upon graduation of the program to help with their small business launch. I'm excited to have the leader of the U here with us and their program director to tell us a little bit more about the Urban Launch School and all the great work that you all are doing. Ms. Lauren and Ms. Shelby, the floor is yours.
Thank you all, members of council. We really appreciate this opportunity to formally introduce the U, previously known as Urban Accelerator X, but we are now rebranded to Urban Business Development Center. And we ask for your support with the Urban Launch School Accelerator. Only 3% of total venture capital funding, around $85 billion last year, went to minority-owned businesses. And for people of color, the amount was a meager 1%. According to USA Today, an average of 40% of businesses owned by people of color fail each year, with the cause stemming from generational inequity and historic inequality, leading from deep-rooted mental instability and psychological oppression, before even addressing issues of lack of access or resources. This data does not include the local statistics outlined by Columbus's Ohio 2020 Small Business Agenda, identifying people of color and women as the leading communities, facing disparities in funding opportunities, post-launch assistance, and access to business resources. With the rise of startups in this community and the minority communities in general, and despite organizations like ECDI, Rev1, SBDC, and even our Columbus Urban League's Minority Business Center, we are still seeing a need for more culturally competent business development programs catering to meeting small businesses owned by people of color where they are and also in their language, while we also simultaneously provide them with financial and supportive services post and pre-launch. The Urban Launch School Accelerator is a full 10-week program walking entrepreneurs through taking their businesses from business ideas from ideation to launch. Our focus is bridging the gap of education and access for Black and Latinx businesses to promote growth and sustainability while providing pre-seed stage funding and resources. We teach proven business practices while hyper-focusing on catering the experience to provide a culturally competent environment, addressing historical barriers often overlooked. Because mental health can be a barrier to launching a successful business, we've created a safe space for people of color to ask all of the questions that they are too afraid to ask in other settings and get them answered by individuals who are of a similar background. We understand standard business practices and training is not just enough to strive to offer all of the needed ancillary support, that is, mental and physical health training, to elevate small businesses as vital contributors to our economy. Entrepreneurship for people of color requires as much support and funding as any other venture, and we look forward to partnering with the city to answer this call. So thank you all for having us here. We're really excited, and thank you for all of the support thus far.
Thank you, Lauren, and for all the work that you and Shelby, did you want to add anything? Or?
I'm really...
She feels put on the spot.
I do feel that.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
I started as a program coordinator. That's my official title. And just seeing these businesses throughout their progress and the experience, it's essential. They didn't know things like this existed, and they've voiced that they've learned so much in this condensed time that they never thought that they would learn. So the money and support is definitely beneficial for the program. So
Absolutely. And thank you again for what you all are doing at the U. I've witnessed firsthand some of their programming, and it is really dope. I mean, it is really meeting folks where they are. And when we talk about building out this ecosystem in our community, that the Department of Development and the Small Business Agenda is moving forward, this is a critical piece in that. So thank you all for your doing. I also want to make sure I commend Director Stevens and Director Brown for all the work that they're doing around minority business participation. I think on this dais, you've all heard me say it before, we have to be intentional. That's the only way that we chip away at this. That's the only way that we build a robust ecosystem to make sure that Black businesses thrive in our community. So thank you for being a part of that, and thank you to the administration for your work on this. Thank you, guys. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
That is all I have this evening.
Good stuff. The next committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Buenas noches. I have one ordinance today in public service, 0860-2022, to authorize the Finance and Management Director to establish purchase orders and contracts with multiple vendors for the purchase of various traffic management and control commodities for the Department of Public Service to authorize the expenditure of $100,000 or more in a fiscal year against universal term contracts, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,600,000 from the Street Construction, Maintenance, and Repair Fund for the purchase of various traffic management and control commodities, and to declare an emergency. So this ordinance will give the Department of Public Service the opportunity to acquire a variety of traffic management and control commodities. You're wondering, what could those be? These are some examples. Schools are sign supports, school flashers, reflective sign sheeting, audible pedestrian, traffic signals, and street name sign brackets, to name a few. These are all supplies and materials that are necessary to ensure traffic safety throughout the city of Columbus. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Excellent. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Ordinance is passed.
Thank you. That is all for me this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Finance Committee, chaired by Pres Pro Tem. But the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Before I continue, may I have Ms. Elsie Johnson come to the podium, please? Tonight in Finance, we have 0484-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Zora's House in support of their proposed community hub, to amend the 2021 capital improvements budget, to transfer and appropriate $500,000 within the General Permanent Improvement Fund, to authorize an expenditure within the General Permanent Improvement Fund, and to declare an emergency. This request authorizes the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Zora's House in support of their proposed community hub. And our allocation will match in-kind and financial contributions of $250,000 apiece from the Ohio Capital Corporation for Housing and the Columbus Foundation. Zora's House is the first and only co-working space and leadership incubator in Ohio created by and for women of color, to ensure the full participation of women of color in the civic, economic, and cultural life of the city of Columbus. Since its founding in 2018, through community building efforts, shared space, and programming, and the blood, sweat, and tears of Elsie Johnson, Zora's House has helped more than 3,000 women of color to incubate businesses, navigate job losses and other COVID-19 related transitions, to connect with mental health resources. And really one thing I think Zora's House is known for is to activate their leadership in their neighborhoods and workplaces and families. So this emergency funding, Zora's House aims to expand into, and you can tell us more about this, Elsie, in a moment, but a really exciting expansion, a $3 million community hub that will serve as a real center for this work. A little additional context for how critical Zora's House is for our city and our city's future. In 2019, this council partnered with the Columbus Women's Commission to create a financial empowerment roadmap, which we really tried to focus in on women and women of color and their financial position in our city. That roadmap, along with the Women's Commission, it outlines our city's plans for improving access to different financial resources, such as professional counseling that helps residents shore up financial vulnerabilities they may have, and also build and take charge of their own futures. So I think our North Star in that body of work is building economic security. And to achieve that, it is critical that we continue to support organizations like Zora's House. I would like to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Shayla Favor and Councilmember Barosa de Padilla, for their support in this work. Before I give the microphone over to Ms. Johnson, I would like to pause if council members have anything to add.
It's been a long road. Congratulations, Elsie. I always say an investment in women is an investment in families, and whenever we can give women a platform so that they can elevate their greatness that they inherently have inside of themselves, we all benefit. And so creating these spaces for women, especially women of color, so that they have a safe space where they can connect, where we can elevate their greatness, it is but only a benefit to the entire city of Columbus. So thank you for your service. Thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for your vision, and thank you for all of the great things that are about to come out of Zora's House. Thank you.
So, I don't know what I can say that hasn't been said already, but I think that you know how incredibly important you are to this community, and specifically to the community of women of color in the city of Columbus. The role that you play is so critical, especially right now. And so I just want to be that beacon of encouragement because I know that this road has not been easy at all, but you continue to dig deep and do the work that is absolutely necessary to move our community forward. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful. To Council President Pro Tem Brown, thank you for the work that you did to ensure that we're here. And I just look forward to the amazing work that Zora's House is going to continue to do in the city of Columbus.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. As many of you mentioned, this has not been a short road nor an easy one. But if there's $500,000 at the end of it, I will go down that road anytime. So I do want to say thank you all so much for recognizing the work of Zora's House. As you mentioned, Zora's House is a nonprofit co-working space and leadership incubator whose mission is to support and catalyze the creativity, leadership, entrepreneurship, scholarship, and activism of women and gender-expansive people of color in our community. And we know that that's a population that is still suffering disproportionately from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, which makes this investment all the more relevant and all the more timely. Franklin County is the fastest growing county in Ohio, and women of color are the fastest growing population in Franklin County. In other words, we know that investing in the leadership and economic empowerment of women of color is critical to ensuring a more just and equitable future for all of us. It's interesting that you mentioned kind of the vision and the work that's been done, and I'd love to share, in 2017, my husband and I should say I convinced my husband to purchase a vacant lot in Wyland Park and to build Zora's House from the ground up. And I was thinking today about how we couldn't even afford furniture for the first 2 months that the space was open. But I remember talking to the 30 women who attended our first event and telling them, "You are standing in my dream." Since that time that we've opened our doors, Zora's House, as you mentioned, has helped over 3,000 women of color to connect with mental health resources, navigate those COVID-19 related transitions, and truly activate their visions, their leadership, and contribute to our community in a meaningful way. And what's really exciting is that as much as I have loved sharing my house with Zora's House, we are so excited to be expanding into a 10,000 square foot permanent location that will act as a center for innovation, empowerment, and community change that is created by and centering women and gender expansive people of color in our community. So I have to say again, thank you so much for this timely and incredibly critical investment in our work, because this investment today doesn't just represent an investment in Zora's House, it truly represents an investment in a more just future and a more just and equitable community for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Any additional questions or comments from colleagues?
I just want to say, as a famous congresswoman once said, when women succeed, America succeeds. And I'm going to localize that and say, when women succeed, Columbus succeeds. So thank you for all you're doing.
That's right.
I always forget that you guys get to talk after I talk.
Well, thank you very much, Elsie, Ms. Johnson, for your dedication to lifting up women. And I love your point. That's going to be a new, I think, stat we all got to take on the road about Franklin County being the fastest growing county and women of color being the fastest growing population in Franklin County. So with that, I move for passage by voice.
Is there a second?
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Mr. Bankston?
Yes.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Yes. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorns?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Abstain.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, ordinance is passed.
All right, thank you. And next, I have, my last piece in finance is 0852, to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget, to authorize the city auditor to transfer funds within the general permanent improvement fund, to authorize the director of finance and management to enter into contract with Williams Interior Design to appropriate and expend $44,130.05 from the general permanent improvement fund for the purchase of office furniture, and to declare an emergency. I request to table this ordinance indefinitely.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Ordinance is tabled.
That's all I have, President Harden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Rules and Reference Committee. And I chair it, but Councilmember Dorans will chair for this ordinance. Councilmember.
Thank you, Council President. In Rules and Reference, I have ordinance number 0982-2022 to amend Section 377.02 of the Columbus City Codes to authorize the Wage Theft Prevention and Enforcement Commission to hear and determine whether an adverse determination should issue for a breach of any contractual obligation to the city to assume obligations of any provision of Chapter 377. On September 21st, 2020, Columbus City Council passed Ordinance 1802-2020, creating the Columbus City Codes Chapter 377, Wage Theft Prevention and Enforcement. This new chapter set forth various provisions designed to ensure that entities who commit wage theft or payroll fraud do not benefit from contracts with the City of Columbus. The provisions of Chapter 377 extend to all persons who constitute a, quote, covered entity as defined under the code, who entered into a contract for provisions of goods or services, or who entered into a financial incentive agreement with the City of Columbus. However, from time to time, the city has occasion to enter into such contracts or agreements with entities that technically do not constitute a covered entity under the code, but who nonetheless have agreed to be bound by the chapters of provisions of Chapter 377. This amendment authorizes the Wage Theft Prevention and Enforcement Commission to hear and determine whether an adverse determination should issue for entities who have contractually agreed to subject themselves to the jurisdiction of the commission. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in my committees.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee coming for council is Health and Human Services, chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight we have Ordinance 579-2022 to authorize the Director of Development to modify nonprofit service agreements with numerous social service agencies to address and provide for multiple human service needs, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2,111,000 from the Emergency Human Services Fund, to authorize expenditure of up to $1,853,254 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. These funds will be used to support 37 human services organizations, including Freedom a la Carte, Huckleberry House, Charitable Pharmacy of Central Ohio, and Center of Healthy Families, and many others. These organizations were selected in 2019 as part of the city's competitive 2-year funding cycle and have received continuation funding to address the ongoing hardships resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. These programs and initiatives will provide critical services to residents who were made increasingly vulnerable by the COVID-19 pandemic. Director Stevens, do you have anything you'd like to add at this time?
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Favor, members of council. We are pleased to be moving forward these additional human service funding, but we're also planning to bring back in a couple months additional funding around human services that we'll be rolling out and doing a competitive process here and announcing in the near future.
Thank you, Director. We do have one speaker to note today, Mr. Nate Wilkins. Welcome back to council.
Arlington Avenue, Mr. Los Angeles Wilkins, as a resident of North Linden. I request for more money of up to $991,000,75. I think Mike Stevens said for 2 years, but I would like to see this be more extended for more than 5 to 10 years with this human resource. But also, I think it needs to be more money. Like I said again, of $9,991.75. So I just want some backlog and clarification. Why do we have to do another year? Why don't we just extend this more out for 5 to 10 years? Thank you for your time.
Director Stevens, would you like to respond?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Favor. We do these competitive processes on a 2 to 3 year basis just to make sure we are capturing as many organizations that are doing the good work in the community, as well as our priorities shift over time. It's important that we have an opportunity to go out competitively to get identify organizations to receive these dollars. We are doing additional funding, like I said earlier, of $5 million, where we will have that over a 3 year process and award that for this year and 2 years following.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Is there a second? Second. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And next we have Ordinance 580-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a nonprofit service contract with the Community Shelter Board for the purpose of continuing the city's support for men, women, and families who are experiencing or at risk of experiencing homelessness in Columbus. To authorize the payment of expenses starting January 1st, 2022, to authorize the expenditure of $5,389,650 from the general fund and to declare an emergency. The Community Shelter Board is the collective impact organization driving strategy, accountability, collaboration, and resources to achieve the best outcomes for people facing homelessness in Columbus and Franklin County. This funding will allow CSB to continue to administer the following 5 initiatives to address homelessness in our community: continuum of care application, crisis response, outreach services, permanent supportive housing services, and the safety net program. These programs provide support for men, women, and families who are experiencing or at risk of experiencing homelessness in Columbus. Director Stevens, do you have anything you'd like to add at this time?
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Favor, members of council. I would also add that when we work with the Community Shelter Board and the partners that they fund using these dollars, we require in-depth reporting and transparency on how those dollars are spent with each invoice that we receive. So I want to emphasize that for the members of council.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the current leader of the Community Shelter Board, Michelle Heritage, which made an announcement last week that she would be leaving the Community Shelter Board, and this council thanks her greatly for her years of service to our community and specifically this population, especially as we continue to navigate through the pandemic. Are there any additional questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, I will move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston.
By voice.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla.
Yes.
Ms. Brown. Yes. Mr. Dorans.
Yes.
Ms. Favor.
Yes.
Mr. Remy.
Yes.
President Harden.
Yes. Ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 768-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to modify a grant agreement with the Young Women's Christian Association in an amount up to $1,711,666 using Federal American Rescue Plan Act funds, and to modify the scope of services to be in alignment with the recently published federal guidance, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,711,666 of ARPA funds and to declare an emergency. The YWCA of Columbus continues to provide emergency shelter and wraparound services to homeless individuals in our community. Throughout the pandemic, shelter staff worked tirelessly to provide in-person assistance to residents experiencing housing instability. By doing so, they've put the health and well-being of themselves and their families at risk to keep our neighbors housed. This ordinance will support the YWCA with funding for operational support to implement COVID-19 prevention and mitigation tactics, remodeling of some spaces to improve infection control measures, and hiring additional temporary staff to cover staffing needs. Director Stevens, any additional comments?
Thank you, Chair Favor. I'd just like to use this opportunity to thank all the staff and members of the different shelters serving our community. The work they do is tireless. It's been very challenging during the pandemic, so this support is critical to that. And so thank you and thank them.
Yes, and once again, uplifting the great work of another amazing leader, Christy Angel. We hosted a press conference last week to talk a lot about these funding announcements that are before consideration of council today. And Ms. Angel brought her team up there so that the world could see who the people that are really doing this work. And I had a conversation with one afterward. We talked about how the work is hard, but it's really heart work. And I think it's important to see the folks who truly do care about the residents of Columbus and the commitment that they bring every day to the job. So with that, I would move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 769-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to modify a grant agreement with Young Men's Christian Association in an amount up to $1,070,000 and $503 using Federal American Rescue Plan Act funds, and to modify the scope of services to be in alignment with the recently published federal guidance, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,070,503 of ARPA funds and to declare an emergency. The YMCA of Central Ohio also serves to provide emergency shelter and wraparound services to homeless individuals. This funding will support additional cleaning services to mitigate and prevent COVID-19 at the Van Buren Center and will support retaining employees. Director Stevens?
I have nothing further to add, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Once again, I cannot thank our human service agencies enough for all of the work that you all do on a daily basis, but especially as we continue to navigate through the pandemic. You all help to fill in gaps for the city and for folks all around Columbus, and so thank you for the work that you do on behalf of our residents. Any additional comments or questions at this time?
Good.
Seeing none, move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bangston,
By voice.
Yes.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Abstain.
Mr. Dorans.
Yes.
Ms. Favor,
Yes. Oh, my
Mr.
goodness
Remy.
gracious.
President Harden.
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 772 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to modify a grant agreement with Faith Mission Incorporated in an amount up to $1,256,723 using Federal American Rescue Plan Act funds, and to modify the scope of services to be in alignment with the recently published federal guidance to authorize the expenditure of up to $256,723 of ARPA funds and to declare an emergency. Faith Mission is the largest shelter system in Central Ohio with 2 men's shelters and 1 women's shelter. The shelters serve approximately 1,900 people every year. This funding will support the critical work of Faith Mission and continue to provide our homeless residents with safe and warm shelter. We do have a speaker in support of tonight's legislation, Mr. Joe Motil. Welcome back to council.
Joe Motil, 167, West Cook, Columbus, Ohio. President Harden, Pro Tem Brown, Chairwoman Favor, members of council. After you approve this ordinance, you have allocated just over $5.5 million in ARP taxpayer dollars during tonight's meeting. I fully support the expenditure of these federal tax dollars to the YMCA, YWCA, Faith Mission, Mary Haven, and Southeast Inc. These nonprofit social service organizations have a long-standing history in our city of aiding our community's most vulnerable and our underserved citizens. The City of Columbus received its first payment of ARP funds totaling $93 million in June of 2021. The city is scheduled to receive another $93 million next month. Tonight's $5.5 million expenditure will leave a balance of about $44.7 million on top of next month's $93 million That'll give us a balance of about $137 million. As the lack of truly affordable housing continues to arguably be the number one issue facing our city, not a dime of this taxpayer federal relief money has gone towards the construction of affordable housing units. 9 months ago, in early July of last year, I sent a letter to Mayor Ginther, President Hardin, Council Members Brown, Favor, Dorns, Remy, regarding a proposal to the city to allocate $60 million of ARP funds towards affordable housing that should be designated to those of 60% AMI and less. I also included in that letter that the county should match the $60 million of their allocated $255 million along with of ARPs, along with the Columbus Partnership matching the $60 million. This would allow for an immediate infusion of $180 million that could immediately create up to 5,000 affordable housing units. Other suggestions were also included in my letter. As you know, the social justice faith-based organization BREAD, which is outside at this moment, and numerous other housing agencies have also been lobbying you and the county to release ARP funds for affordable housing. The county even gave $3 million to the nonprofit that owns the Columbus Clippers in Huntington Park, but not a dime of ARP funds has been spent by either the county or the city on bricks and mortar affordable housing units. The city of St. Paul, Minnesota, which has nearly half the population of Columbus, displayed its leadership by partnering with its county, to combine a total of $74 million of their ARP funds to construct up to 1,000 units for those of 30% AMI in St. Paul, Minnesota. The 2019 $50 million housing bond package is depleted, and only 178 new units are going to be built this year from those remaining bond funds. During my 2019 City Council campaign, I proposed that a $250 million bond package to be placed on the ballot. If it would have been voted on and approved, thousands of more affordable housing units could have been built this year. But since another bond package won't be on the ballot until November, the city has squandered an opportunity to invest in more affordable housing units this year since the 2019 $50 million bond package was so small. In closing, word on the street says the city is going to use a large portion of our ARP funds to offset budget shortfalls. I hope this is not the case. Housing is central to quality of life and upward mobility and is needed to fight poverty. Access to safe, affordable housing is a leading determinant of income, wealth, and overall quality of life. These are your words and the mayor's. People are suffering and can't wait any longer. Your reluctance to allocate ARP funds to affordable housing is depriving thousands of safe and decent housing that they deserve.
Mr. Motil.
It's past time that you expend no less than $60 million of our ARP taxpayer funds and to partner with our elected officials.
Mr. Motil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Motil.
Answer any questions you might have.
No, I'm in receipt of your letter and have been very public about my stance on measures that have been advocated on by the BREAD organization and others around the city of Columbus. Director Stevens, do you have any comment you'd like to make at this time?
Thank you, President Hardin, Chair Favor, members of council. The one thing I do want to make sure that we don't lose sight of, we spent over $67 million in federal dollars from COVID relief funds on emergency rental assistance and other needs of our community to make sure people stay housed. We have an issue with housing. We need more housing. We need more affordable housing. We have identified projects to use the $50 million bond fund that's going to create at the end 1,300 new units, serving individuals making anywhere from $30,000 to $80,000 a year. It's an important need. We continue to look at that. I'm proud of the dollars we're putting out tonight, using the rescue plan to support our shelters and support our most vulnerable residents.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Motil. Tonight, I am extremely proud that our city has prioritized strengthening families by investing over $14 million in equity-based organizations that are committed to tackling homelessness, infant mortality rates, and increasing housing stability for immigrant and refugee households. This funding is going to have an incalculable impact on our city and continue to support our partners working to protect the most vulnerable among us. I have seen firsthand just how effective and life-changing these resources are when they are provided to human services through grants, and how they have been effective for residents. It is so much more than money. It is education, it's access to experts, free health care, quality food, and so much more. This pandemic continues to have a major impact on the health and well-being of many vulnerable groups in our city. These human services grants will allow us to continue serving these and other hard-to-reach populations. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Michael Corey with the Human Services Chamber to the podium. It is with these last few years, and if they tell us anything, it is that the work is far from finished. While this is a tremendous step, we must continue to distribute funding to the organizations on the ground and strengthen these investments in our community. I truly believe that the first step towards building healthy communities is to prioritize equitable investments in the areas with the greatest needs. I would like to thank the many human services organizations across this city for your resilience, hard work, and strength over these past few years. The pandemic exacerbated many needs to which you all have answered the call to serve and provide vital services to our residents. I know that this work has not been easy. And just as Mr. Motil pointed out, we have a long way to go. But this is a step in the right direction. So with that, I have invited a few key folks tonight here to speak on the impact of this funding. Mr. Michael Corey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Council, first let me formally welcome the newest council members. Excuse me. And Chair Favor, congratulations on chairing the most important committee on City Council. My name is Michael Corey. I'm the Executive Director of an organization called the Human Service Chamber of Franklin County, which is essentially a chamber of commerce for 142 health and human services nonprofits in Columbus. We serve members that employ about 16,000 people who are serving hundreds of thousands of people and whose collective revenue is actually $1.5 billion. But the membership's diversity is something I'm really proud of. We have agencies that have 0 staff and agencies that have thousands of staff. And the bulk of the organizations we serve are on the smaller end. And for each of them, there are some common challenges and common reasons why these investments are so critical, because an investment in one agency is an investment in the whole sector and an investment in the community. So I want to achieve 3 things with the time that I have not squandered with my opening remarks. First, I want to say thank you. Second, I want to give you a quick state of the sector. And third, I want to talk a little bit about the challenges ahead with the thank you. Because in neither the CARES Act nor the American Rescue Plan Act, not a penny was allocated specifically for nonprofits. It fell to the city and the county and the state to allocate coronavirus relief funds for nonprofits. And this body in particular has stepped up in a significant way to the point where not one of our member agencies, not one of our member agencies has closed its doors in 2 years. That's not true in any other sector. That's really extraordinary. But you have stepped up, I get emotional when I think about it. It's extraordinary because of the amount of support you've provided to those helping so many people in the community. That's been really incredible, not just with dollars, but even with PPE. That has saved lives, saved dollars, and made folks safer to deliver services. So these particular grant dollars, continuing grants and creating new grants, and the announcement of another $5 million in grants forthcoming, all of that is not something you had to do, and you're doing it, and that's going to make this community and the sector stronger and more capable of helping people. So thank you for that. State of the sector. I've been in this job for almost 5 years now, 5 years into this month, and there has never been a time when there's been more uniformity in a challenge, no matter the size of the sector nor in the scope of work that they are in. The biggest challenge right now is workforce. The staff of the nonprofits are exhausted, and they're having a heck of a time retaining and recruiting talent. And many of them are in a position to hire people right now because there's been so much generosity to serve, and the need is so much higher, and it's staying there. But finding that talent, keeping that talent is particularly challenging. I don't know how we solve that, but I know that we'll do that together. That's the other piece in the state of the sector. In every subsector of health and human services, the need is higher than where it was in February of 2020. And it's going to stay there. We know that COVID's impacts will last much longer on many people, and how we help the sector and work together through that is going to be really critical. Let me talk about what's next. I have never been more uncertain about the future than I am right now. I don't know where state and federal funding is going to be at in 2 years for the sector. The state budget fight we had last year, where there were threats to really kneecap many components of the sector, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the disproportionate effects of climate change on the people our agencies serve and the agencies themselves. I'm worried about our economy. I don't know that we avoid a recession with some of the challenges that we see billowing. I'm worried about a lot of things. That's part of my job, but I am certain that this city will continue stepping up with and through the nonprofit sector to help the people most in need, and these latest investments are an example of that. So thank you for your support, and thank you for allowing me the time to chat today, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Corey. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Corey at this time? I know one thing's for certain, we can weather this storm through true partnership and with great leadership. And we are appreciative of the leadership that you have exhibited over the course of the pandemic, over the course of these last 5 years. And thank you for your commitment to our organizations that do this work every single day on behalf of our residents. So thank you for being here this evening.
Councilmember, real quick.
Yes.
Sorry, I was a little slow on that uptake. So I had the fortunate pleasure of my other job being in the social service sector, and as a younger person having the opportunity to serve. And so this is really love work and soul work. And I think it's important, and I know we've done it many times, but I think that to yet again acknowledge that it was interesting. I was talking today about the pandemic, and I referred to it as a break because I think it was like a break from reality. But recognizing that for many people, especially if you worked in the sector, you never went home. You never got to work from home. You never had a respite. And not only did you never have a respite, but quite indeed your work intensified. And seeing the pain and the hurt of other people and carrying that with you, I know was a huge burden on our social service agencies. And so to allow us to give them something so that they could it necessitated for us to make the moves that we made as a city to ensure that no one could close their doors because we could not suffer that storm and the long-term effects of that in our communities, right? And so I think I want to commend you for your leadership, and I know that you get emotional because this is love work, certainly for you, but for all of your nonprofit leaders who I know that the burden that they had to carry for us because they wanted to serve in service to others is a lot, and we're not through anything yet. We are still marching through a very difficult time, and we see that in our children, and we see that in our neighborhoods, and we see that in our communities, and many of the issues that we're talking about right now is because we had a very delicate system that we laid a pandemic on top of, and we're seeing things burst because something had to give. And so I just want to commend the work of the organizations that you are here to represent because they do stand in the gap, and they do lift people up. And without them, we could not do this work. And so, and I've said this before, and we will continue to say it, we are in an all-in effort as a city and deciding on who and where we want to go and the work that we want to do. And so these critical investments and the work that we are doing needs to be work that we are doing together. And we need to continue to push and challenge ourselves, as many of you do who are out here today, to do better and to be better. But we also need to celebrate the work that has been done because we still have a long way to go.
Thank you, Councilmember, for saying all that. You're better at my job, both of you, than I am. If I may briefly, I'm really grateful that you raised the issue of trauma for the folks at our agencies. That's true on the front line with our caseworkers and social workers and all the way up to the CEOs and EDs. Over the last 2 years, we've had 31 agencies with turnover at the CEO or ED level. That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
That's a challenge,
Yep.
but it's also an opportunity. but we're seeing that across the breadth of these organizations as well, and they're at a competitive disadvantage to bring in new talent. And again, I don't know how we resolve that one.
Yeah.
We're seeing that we're seeing that across the country, but knowing that we have allies here and we're all trying to find ways to support our folks in any way that we can is important. It makes a difference, and it's not true in every city. It's certainly not true in every state. So thank you for uplifting that as we try and help the helpers navigate this. And I appreciate the kind words about me, but I sit behind a computer all day. I have a very easy job. My job is to write emails and listen to what I'm hearing and share with those that can make a difference, like all of you. So thank you for that.
Yes, Councilmember Brown.
I'll be very briefly, I just have one request for you, Mr. Corey, which you actually just alluded to, which is to stay in constant communication with us. I think a lot about the old story of the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
The way in which, that canary, if it died, it told the mine workers to get out, right, like something was amiss, right? When that canary was sick, the people would get sick. And I think there is an analogy here, and I'm also thinking about the Great Recession and how we saw so many families hurting who never really recovered, and we told ourselves that our economy was in some kind of recovery, but it wasn't. And those families at the agencies whom you represent, they were the canaries that we ignored in understanding how fragile our economy was and how we were not better. We will not get better until the canary is healthy. That's when we have the kind of healthy environment that allows everyone to breathe, thrive, live. So, keep us, I know that you're always in our inboxes, but you have an open invitation to be so.
I know I'm very annoying, but I appreciate that invitation. I will continue to do so. In fact, we had Council President Hardin visiting with us last month. That feels like it was a year ago, and we have a meeting forthcoming with the chair. We will certainly keep that up, and we'll keep delivering information and perspectives with all of you, and I appreciate that analogy very much. It's very expensive to be alive in the United States right now. And the price of inflation is not just affecting individuals, it's affecting the agencies trying to help those individuals that are being squeezed even more than they were being squeezed previously. And that puts pressure on all of us, and certainly all of you, to find priorities to move dollars out the door to help and to navigate that. And it can't just be a city solution. We're going to keep talking to the state and the feds as much as we can to get more resources and more dollars and better policies through to help. So, but I promise we'll continue sharing information and answering any questions that you might have well after this meeting.
Thank you so much, Mr. Corey. Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Sonia Thessing with the Huckleberry House. Welcome back to council.
Good evening. My name is Sonia Thessing, and I have the privilege of serving as Executive Director at Huckleberry House, which serves youth ages 12 to 24 experiencing homelessness and other challenges. I'm grateful for this opportunity to thank City Council for funding our awareness campaign and shelter upgrade grant request. Huckleberry House has 4 core programs, including a housing program for youth experiencing homelessness, a strengths-based counseling program, and the coordinated entry team for our city's youth housing system. But the program I want to talk about today is the Teen Crisis Shelter. Huck House started the shelter in 1970 and has remained for 52 years the only 24-hour shelter for unaccompanied minors in Central Ohio. The youth who seek safety and shelter at Huck House are dealing with various crises: poverty, neglect, abuse, homelessness, and the everyday stresses that arise for teens and their families. In a normal year, between 550 and 600 youth seek help at our teen shelter. During the pandemic, that number dropped to 350. This decrease in youth seeking help is troubling because we know that the need in our community was as great, if not greater, than in non-pandemic times. We can attribute this decrease to 2 factors. First, we had to keep numbers low because space configuration in our old Victorian house made it difficult to safely distance in the shelter. For the first time in our long history, we had to ask teens if there was somewhere else they could sleep that night, just to maintain safe distance inside the shelter. Second, Huck House staff has not been able to meet kids where they are to tell them about our services or other resources in Columbus. The pandemic kept kids at home, and they were not in the places they normally learn about Huck House. The grant awarded to Huck House addresses both of these factors that prevented us from serving the teens of our city. We will spend $27,300 on reconfiguring spaces at our Hamlet Street campus, from moving offices to purchasing furniture for new common areas and sleeping spaces. We will spend $45,000 on outreach videos and materials that can be shared by the adults in our community who are meeting youth at schools, libraries, rec centers, sports practices. The videos will reach youth where we know they all spend time, on their screens. I am incredibly proud of the dedication, creativity, and perseverance of our team at Huck House. Like our fellow human service organizations, we figured out how to continue serving under challenging and often dangerous conditions. As an organization that partners with many other human service agencies in town, Huck House recognizes the importance of a healthy, supported human service sector. We all learned a lot during the pandemic, and I am thankful for City Council's encouragement to address those lessons and for the funding that will help us take action. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the work that you do on behalf of our young folks. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Once again, it is important for this body to recognize the work of our human services organizations. And not wanting to steal any thunder from our last speaker this evening, but these are the folks that we are talking about all the time when we mention vulnerable residents or folks who have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. And we think about the inconveniences that we've all endured over the last 2 years, but then just taking a moment to step into a young person's shoes right now. Young folks aren't okay, right? And getting back to school is just one hurdle. But thinking about having to deal with where your next meal is going to come from, or where a roof is going to be, if you're going to have a roof over your head, is a whole nother story. And so, once again, we cannot do this work in this capacity without the work of you all. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment to our young folks.
Thank you, and thank you for your support.
And last but certainly not least, we're joined virtually by Ms. Toshia Safford with the Center for Healthy Families, who will be joining us virtually. Ms. Safford, are you still there?
Good evening.
Yes.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, President Hardin, Chair Favor, and the members of council. I'm Toshia Safford, and I know that name's always a mouthful to say. It's nice to be in front of you again, and I have the honor of serving in the role as CEO of the Center for Healthy Families. Like my colleagues, today I appear in front of you to provide testimony for the critical financial resources provided by this committee. Thank you, Councilmember Favor. The Center for Healthy Families, along with many other organizations, including our 142 members of the Human Services Chamber, are facing very unique challenges. And these unique challenges are for us to continue to provide support to the many deserving residents of our community. As you've heard tonight, our nation continues to be burdened with the global pandemic that has resulted in unprecedented sickness, death, educational upheaval, economic uncertainty, and heightened calls for racial and social justice. Our missions, and I say our missions because we are one, has become more critical, and the call for action is ringing louder, now more even than before. We've heard time and time again how COVID-19 has put a magnifying glass on the racial inequities plaguing our society. It illuminates the long-term systemic challenges and our need for a stable social health infrastructure. The support from the Human Services Committee directly supports the families at the Center for Healthy Families through our Connections program. Our dedicated team members commit themselves day in and day out to weave together a safety net for pregnant and parenting teens. Incensio, one of our Latin-speaking associates, she says that often, incensio, which means it's serious. When you receive a call from a young person at the Center for Healthy Families and she says to her resource advocate, "He just beat me again. I need to get to the hospital." Incensio. what you do for us as an organization, as a collective of organizations through the Human Services Chamber. We're able to convene partnerships. At the Center for Healthy Families, when we walk in the space of often competing organizations, we're able to put that in a single service collaboration. This makes services for pregnant and parenting youth easier, less confusing, more comfortable, but above all, more likely. We recognize that when young people come to our doors, that teen pregnancy is just the symptom of what brings them to us, whether it be intimate partner violence or domestic violence or hunger. And sometimes our young people just need someone to support, someone that they can talk to. Because of this funding and the support, pregnant and parenting youth in our community can create positive outcomes. We work one-on-one with youth parents to help them to foster a number of successes in key areas, whether it be education, healthy babies, effective parenting, housing, and healthy relationships. Now, we fully recognize that these areas are complex and require the coordination of many partners and advocates. Members of City Council, you have not only been partners, but tireless advocates to help us to support youth that are in need in our community. You support our youth and their families to achieve above and beyond their hopes and dreams. But first, you're providing stability. The stability of access to necessary supports with the Healthy Families Connection Serving Team is one example. We thank you for your support. As members of council, you not only support in voting for this important legislation, but you've been present with us side by side. We are proud to say, when we call, you answer, in Sensio. To share the sentiments of my colleagues, both Sonia and Michael, an investment in one agency is an investment in the entire health and human services sector. Because of you, we are here. The Human Service Chamber is here. Our sector will continue to be on call. We will continue to be on the front lines, especially as we move towards the pandemic recovery. The need is insurmountable. We will continue to sound the alarm. And as this need continues to grow, understand the space that we're in today, it isn't moving. But we are so grateful for your investments. On behalf of my Board of Trustees, our team, the youth and the families that we're entrusted to serve, thank you for this time. And sincere.
Thank you so much, Ms. Safford, and we appreciate the work that you do every single day for our families. To the mayor, to Director Stevens, to all of our leaders, thank you so much. But more importantly, to our volunteers for showing up, for handing out masks, whether you're paid or unpaid. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the work that you do. This is only but a step, but it is a step in the right direction. And so with that, I would move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you.
I think we will break for zoning. Is there a motion to, clerk, please call the row.
Motion to recess.
Recess, please.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Yeah, recess. Directors, if your committee's already gone, you guys are dismissed. number 17 will now come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing no additions or corrections, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Dorrance chairs it. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Before we begin tonight's zoning agenda, I want to go through a little bit of housekeeping. Will the clerk please read the numbers of legislation in the zoning committee this evening that requires a waiver of second reading?
I'm sorry, Councilmember Dorans, we missed that. That was from last week. My apologies.
We will move through that next then. Allow me to briefly explain the current rules pertaining to speaking before council on zoning and variances. We will only hear a staff presentation for ordinances that have a disapproval from a recommending body, or if we have a public speaker signed up to speak against an ordinance. All speakers on council variance, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representative and area commission applicants are always able to speak on an ordinance and do not need to fill out a speaker slip. On the advice of the city attorney's office, I will now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. Repeat after me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth, as you shall answer under the pains or penalties of perjury? If so, please say I do. I do. Please let the record show that Shannon Pine from the Department of Building and Zoning Services and Dan Bleschmidt from the Department of Public Service has been sworn in. I would also like to take a quick moment to thank the clerk staff for working with my staff and all the changes to the zoning committee process. Tonight, one of those changes will be on our agenda, which has been organized to separate zoning ordinances and council variances in an effort to streamline the meetings and make it a little bit easier for everyone to follow exactly what is going on within the committee itself. So thank you to Clerk Blevins and her team for helping us with that. First, in the rezoning ordinance portion of the committee, we have rezoning 0889-2022 to rezone 3500 Alum Creek Drive, being 23.53 plus acres located on the east side of the Alum Creek Drive at the intersection New World Drive from LM Limited Manufacturing District to LM Limited Manufacturing District. The applicant is 3500 ACD LLC, care of Deanna Clark, attorney. Proposed use is a limited commercial or industrial development. City Department recommendation is approval. The Development Commission's recommendation is approval 5-0. Far South Area Commission recommendation is approval 7-2. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have rezoning 1045-2022 to rezone 4216 Easton Loop East, being 16.57 plus acres located in the south side of Morris Road, 260 plus feet east of Stelzer Road from CPD Commercial Plan District to CPD Commercial Plan District. The applicant is Morso Holdings Co., care of Jeffrey Brown, attorney. Proposed use is a commercial development. The city's department recommendation is approval. The Development Commission's recommendation is approval 5-0. The Northeast Area Commission recommendation is also approval. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have rezoning 0325-2022 to rezone 2333 Harrisburg Pike, being 8.7 plus acres located on the northwest side of Harrisburg Pike, 750 plus feet north of Hyde Park Road from LM Manufacturing District to LM Limited Manufacturing District. The applicant is Buckeye Truck and Trailer Service, LLC, care of Jackson B. Reynolds, attorney. Proposed use is trucking, use, and storage. The City Department's recommendation is approval. The Development Commission's recommendation is approval 4-0. The Southwest Area Commission recommendation is disapproval due to a 3-3 tie. So we will have a staff presentation at this time. Ms. Pine?
Good evening. The site is developed with a single-unit dwelling and garage and is being used for truck storage in the LM Limited Manufacturing District and has an active zoning code violation for initiating this use without zoning clearance. The existing LM district only permits the sale of boats, trailers, trailer hitches, and equestrian paraphernalia. The applicant is requesting a new LM Limited Manufacturing District to permit truck, trailer, and warehouse storage. and to legitimize the truck storage use. The limitation text commits to a site plan and includes development standards addressing site access, buffering, lighting, and graphics provisions. The site is located within the boundaries of the Southwest Area Plan, which recommends light industrial land uses for this location. Additionally, the plan includes early adoption of Columbus City-wide planning policies design guidelines, which recommend that landscaping, screening, and buffering should be used to soften industrial uses that face public streets and to minimize or mitigate impacts on adjacent uses. The requested LM Limited Manufacturing District is consistent with the Southwest Area Plan's land use recommendation for light industrial uses, and the site plan also includes street trees and landscape screening along Harrisburg Pike, as well as vegetative screening along the northern property line to buffer from adjacent residential uses, which are consistent with the C2P2 design guidelines. Therefore, the City Department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. Do my colleagues have any questions for Ms. Pine? Seeing none, I believe the applicant's attorney, Mr. Jackson Reynolds, is present. Mr. Reynolds?
Good evening, Council President Harden, Councilmember Dorans, and council members. My name's Jack Reynolds. I'm an attorney with Smith & Hale, and we have been working on this property since 2019. Filed it with the City of Columbus and had a meeting with the Southwest Area Commission October of 2019, at which time we had a number of the neighbors at the meeting, and there was some stormwater issues that were brought to our attention. And so we started reviewing what those issues were, hired a civil engineer, and we're looking at the hydraulics of the stream that runs through the site. Took a couple of months, but our engineer was able to determine that there's actually 100 acres that actually utilize the little stream for their stormwater drainage. The drainage was coming down to Harrisburg Pike. It was hitting the swale along Harrisburg Pike, and it was causing some problems to our neighbors. So we did some additional investigation, and were able to determine that the drain that served the west side was an old clay pipe that was 15 inches in diameter and had been damaged over the years with the penetrations of utility work. So we contacted ODOT, and ODOT was aware of some of the issues down along that corridor, and so we invited their civil engineer to come down and view the site. And he acknowledged that there was an awful lot of water that was running through that creek. So they are doing a project now that is slated for 2024, and they've upgraded the piping from what was going to be a 24-inch to a 60-inch pipe that will now catch the water that comes off of that creek. So their assumption is we will catch all of that stormwater drainage, take it down to Alkire Road, and tie it into the existing system. So we hopefully will deal with that issue. That was the primary concern. And then as we met with other property owners, we added a 6-foot-high, 100% opaque fence to the north property line in order to increase noise prevention and visibility prevention. We also agreed to add some giant arborvitaes in front of the storage area on the north side of the parking area for the trucks in order to provide 100% opacity for any of the stored trucks that are on that portion of the property. Obviously, there were some considerations. We're adding street trees, we're relocating the curb cut, we're dedicating 10 feet of right-of-way for Harrisburg Pike. So again, we were anxious to make the Southwest group as happy as we possibly could, but at the end, I think we've given them a better project, and we're solving some of the problems that were inherent with the property before we even started our operation. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Does any council members have any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Following up on Mr. Riddell's comments, my office has been in pretty close communication with the Southwest Area Commission. Really appreciate their willingness to work with us and the applicant on many of the issues that have been discussed. I think we've really resolved many of those that resulted in this 3-3 tie. So I believe at this time it's appropriate to move forward with this legislation. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments before I move for passage? Seeing none, I will do so. I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have rezoning 0851-2022 to amend ordinance number 1091-2021, passed May 10th, 2021, by repealing Section 3 and replacing it with the new Section 3, thereby modifying CPD text regarding the building setback and replacing the approved CPD text for property located at 915 West 5th Avenue. Rezoning amendment number Z20-104A. The proposed use, the mixed-use development, City's Department recommendation is approval. Fifth by Northwest Area Commission is also approval. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. We will now move on to council variances. First, we have variance 0890-2022 to grant a variance from provisions of section 3356.03, C4 permitted use 3309.14B, height district 3312.49, minimum number of parking spaces required 3356.05F, CF development district limitations, and 3356.11 C4 district setback lines of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 303 East 6th Avenue to permit a mixed-use development with reduced development standards in the C4 commercial district. The applicant is Market Development, care of Jackson B. Reynolds, attorney. The proposed use is a mixed-use development. The city's department recommendation is approval. University Area Commission's recommendation is approval 1501. We did have 2 speakers signed up in favor of this application tonight, but they decided to rescind their slips when they found out there was no opposition to the variance. Therefore, do I have my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Yes.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
I next move to amend as submitted to clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
And finally, I move for passage as amended.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And with that, that is tonight's zoning agenda.
Thank you. Seeing no further business come for the zoning committee, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. We got dinner plans. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Meeting is reconvened. The next committee to come before council is the Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. Tonight I have 3 ordinances in the Public Safety Committee. The first ordinance is 792-2022 to authorize the Director of Public Safety to enter into contract with Motorola Solutions, doing business as Vigilant Solutions, for the purchase of commercial license subscriptions to its crime search investigative module and its investigative data platform, as well as 2 L6Q quick deploy license plate reader cameras, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the City Code Chapter 329, to authorize a transfer within the general government grant funds, to authorize an expenditure of $115,550 from the general government grants fund, and to declare an emergency. The commercial LPR licensing subscriptions will enable the LPRs and the neighborhood safety camera systems to work in conjunction with the ShotSpotter program and will help provide vital information from vehicles leaving the areas when the Division of Police is alerted by the ShotSpotter program. The Division of Police currently has LPRs installed on some cruisers and 2 LPR cameras and poles from a prior grant. Motorola Solution software and hardware were created to work with the current LPR systems and ShotSpotter equipment police utilizes. With the expansion of the ShotSpotter system, the procurement of the Motorola equipment will enhance police's ability to respond to emergency situations and increase community safety. The use of the equipment will be in the Linden, Southside, and the Hilltop areas. Director Clark, could you speak to the fact that we're waiving competitive bidding and share any additional comments that you may have?
Sure, Safety Chair Remy, thank you. We are asking for waiver of the bidding process because the equipment that we have in place now is what we are accustomed to. Certainly it's what we're equipped with, and it'll work in conjunction with the new Axon system that's coming shortly over the next year, where all of our police cruisers will have LPRs as well. So this equipment will work in conjunction with all of that, which will ultimately build into our real-time crime center.
Thank you much, Director. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have Ordinance 840, 2022, to authorize direct the Director of Finance and Management on behalf of the Department of Public Safety to enter into a contract with FAAC Incorporated for the purchase of the Milo Range Theater 180 multi-screen training simulator suite for the Division of Police, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of City Code Chapter 329, to authorize the expenditure of $76,495 from the seizure fund, and to declare an emergency. The Division of Police needs to purchase the new simulator because the current simulator requires ongoing maintenance and is out of date in regards to scenarios. This new range will be used to provide sworn personnel with advanced police tactical training and recruits with entry-level tactical training. The simulator is also used to educate civilians through family nights, the Citizen Police Academy, media engagement, and recruiting seminars. The simulator will increase trainees' knowledge, skills, and confidence in a safe, challenging environment that is highly interactive and engaging. The Course Designer program is an editing software program that can be used to create lessons, tests, and presentations for classrooms, auditoriums, and training rooms, or for one-on-one instruction. This simulator also helps instruct and correct trainee issues such as APATA qualification courses for firearms. This simulator allows officers, recruits to run through the course without using live rounds, which saves thousands of dollars. Another large benefit of the simulator is the ability to pause and play back the scenario to teach the trainee about shot placement, reaction time, and environmental awareness. They are also able to show where there were warning signs of what the suspect might be doing that cannot necessarily be replayed in a live scenario. In 2022, the Training Academy has been tasked with training 3 recruit classes instead of 2, and approximately 50 lateral transfers as well. The simulator will help to streamline training these 220 recruits and officers. Director Clark, same thing, if you could speak to the waiving of competitive bidding and share your comments.
Sure, understanding that the Milo equipment is equipment that we're familiar with, and the training modules and the certifications that we have are already in place, and knowing that we will have nearly 300 officers with the new recruits and laterals that we'll have this year, it's essential that the Academy have the latest and greatest up-to-date equipment. And as we promised City Council on multiple occasions, that training would be at the paramount of our efforts to revision and lead the Division of Police, and this will help us do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Finally, I have Ordinance 844, 2022, to authorize and direct the Finance and Management Director on behalf of the Department of Public Safety to enter into contract with Promega Corp. for the purchase of a Max Prep liquid handler, which includes validation, associated parts, warranty, and freight for the Division of Police Crime Lab to waive the competitive bidding provisions of City Code 320, to authorize a transfer within the General Government Grant Fund, to authorize the expenditure of $99,901 from the General Government Grant Fund, and to declare an emergency. The City of Columbus Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, has a need to purchase a Max Prep liquid handler, which includes validation, associated parts, warranty, and freight. The equipment will be validated and used to increase the efficiency of the DNA extraction process in sample prep for previously purchased Promega Maxwell extraction robots. The Division of Police Crime Lab was awarded the fiscal year 2020 capacity enhancement for backlog reduction program from the National Institute of Justice for the specific purchases of DNA equipment and software. Director Clark, could you speak to the waiving of competitive bidding and also share your thoughts?
Yes, our DNA technicians are already familiar with this equipment, and we're looking to enhance that capability within our lab, as well as the addition of the NIBIN equipment that we have and the certifications that we've just received from alcohol, tobacco, and firearms to be able to process not only ballistic evidence, but DNA evidence much quicker than we have in the past.
Appreciate the insight. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there any more business coming for council? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. We have